be able
This
to share my
conference
screen.
will now be recorded.
Good evening, EOF scholars. We have a special guest presenter tonight, Ms. Quanesha Johnson, and she's going to present a career workshop titled, what's the title, Quanesha, again?
Okay, so that was me.
About yourself. So tell me about yourself.
yourself.
Yes. And tonight we'll discuss how to take the stress out of these questions with good examples and how to tell your story, getting right to the point and selling yourself for the position that you are seeking. So with that, I will turn the presentation over to Ms. Johnson, and I'll let her introduce herself. And let's give Ms. Quanesha Johnson a warm WCCC EOF welcome. Everyone. Yes.
Oh, and there's sound that goes with it, cheering.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for the introduction, the warm welcome. My name is Quanesha Johnson, and I am a licensed therapist. So part of my day goes to working with people on their mental and emotional health, and I am an educator. And so I'm all about wellness. I'm about figuring out strategies and tools to live your best and most productive life using, wellness strategies. So today we're talking about career, but I like to talk about career not in the sense of who you are as people, how you see yourself, because that makes so much of a difference in who you are in your career. Your career is an aspect of you. It's a part of you, but it's not all of you. So I believe in this conversation that we're going to have today, that if we look at the personal side of ourselves in conjunction with the professional side, then it makes such a difference. So let's see.
And Quanesha, I made you the presenter, so you should be able to share
it popped up.
Yep.
Okay, perfection. Let me get this screen shared. So what I'm going to have everyone do, can everyone hear me okay? We're good? Yep.
Quanesha, we can't hear you now. No. Even though your mic is on. Technology, I tell you. Can't hear you. Quanesha, if you want to email me your slide deck, I can always present it on your behalf.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, perfection. Technology is not our friend. And so I apologize. I don't know what just happened. As soon as I shared the screen, something stopped. So what I'm going to have you do really, really quickly, if everybody can hear me, which I believe everyone can hear me now.
We can hear you, but we can't see you now.
Okay, now you're going to get ready to see me. So now you see and hear me, right, everyone?
Yes.
Are we good?
Yes.
So
type in the chat yes if you can see Ms. Johnson and hear her. Type yes in the chat.
Let me know that you can see me. Okay, yes, fantastic. So far, so good. Fantastic. So what I want everyone to do, like I said, I don't like to just talk at people or to people. I like learning to be interactive. And so I'm going to ask, as we discuss telling me about yourself, who we are, de-stressing this question, because remember, in my job, I am all about how do we de-stress? How do we take out the anxiety out of things in our lives? I want everyone to just do me a favor. I want to get you moving, get you thinking. I want you to find one item. It could be something right around you. It could be something you get up for like a second to go grab. Find one item that represents your mood or how you're feeling today. So grab one item for me that represents your mood today or how you've been feeling. And then this is the first question. Tiffany said, who can answer the question? And then I'm wanting someone to share with me their item or share with everyone their item and what that is and how that represents how they're feeling. So just take about a few seconds to do that. And I'll share mine while, I don't know, I'll be the first to share my item. So to model, because I like to model because I'm a teacher, I have iced coffee here. And so my iced coffee as it's dripping represents how I feel today, which is I feel energized, I feel refreshed, because that's what my iced coffee does for me. And so today my mood is energized and refreshed. I'm happy it's not raining. I hear birds chirping as I'm talking to you. So this is a representation of just what my mood is today. And whoever wants to share, you could take your, open your mic up and share. What's your mood? What's your item and what that item says?
Do we just talk? I'm sorry.
Yes,
this is Patricia.
Right in there.
Okay, it sounds like Patricia is about to share.
Okay, go for it, Patricia.
This is Patricia. I have my headphones in, holding my hands. I just want to listen to music and go to bed, That's what I'm feeling right now. Super tired. Still at work.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks for sharing. Thanks, Patricia. I hope after this you can get some good rest, well-deserved rest. Who else is going to share? Patricia was the first to share.
I'll share.
Okay. Go for it. Latifa?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys can see this. This was something that I picked up at the little dollar store anyway, but it says it just says, be thankful. And the light is inside of it. I don't know if you can see it. There's a little light.
Okay.
Well, anyway, that represents the light inside of me. I just feel like at this point in time that I am very thankful and I have a lot to be thankful for. So that's what that represents for me. That's how I feel today.
Love it. Love it. And I'm thankful for you sharing that. Thank you. Anyone else want to share? Want to share their item and what they're like, what mood, what feeling are you having today?
I got one.
Okay, go for it. Madison.
It seems dangerous, I know, but my baby is my knife. Hold on. I got a new knife set. I'm so shiny. I like knives. They're my happy place because I get to cook and cut stuff. So, other people like it's dangerous or whatever, but knives are like the best thing I can ever see in my, day to day. So, yeah.
I love that.
So happy.
Dangerous, but I love that.
I have like
I
so many
love that
cuts on my hands. Like I'm not a safe cook either.
I love that. Everything's about context. So the knives you're saying, Madison, represent just you love cooking.
Yeah.
And I know it doesn't sound safe to us listening, but it's just what it represents for you. Okay.
Yeah.
Only because it's Madison, that's all.
Yeah.
You gonna share, Lisa, you gonna share with us?
Yep, so I'm showing you my smart water. So I've been trying to get back to the gym on a regular basis with the crazy COVID schedule and work schedule and everything. So I've been doing that, and I've been getting control of my dissertation, so I feel smart and hydrated.
Love it. Smart and hydrated. I love that. And then opposite, I'm drinking coffee, which dehydrates me. So I need some of your water. So I thank you, everyone. If anyone else wants to share, please feel free to unmute yourself. You can pop in the chat and share. I'm an equal opportunity presenter. And so I know it sometimes is uncomfortable to get, to share. So however, to make this engaging and interactive, if you're comfortable with sharing through chat, absolutely feel free to do so. So thank you, everyone. So let's get our conversation going. I always like to just get the juices flowing. So let's see. Okay. We all see my screen. Thumbs up? Yes, love it. I see some thumbs. Okay, so I titled this so because I always think about going into an interview and you sit down and you're smiling, you're nervous, and one of the very first things that if you're in a panel interview, if you're one-on-one, it's so I can envision someone saying to me, so tell me about yourself. And so like I said, our conversation today is just kind of to de-stress this, give some examples, want you to, like I said, participate, give your feedback. And so this is about your story. You're telling your story. And so basically, the way that I want you to see this is it's an idea of sharpening your, I'm sorry, let me go back. I'm sorry. The idea of sharpening your axe. So when we say sharpening our axe, think about an axe. And so ultimately, when you're chopping something down, we want to get it done and fast and get it done, right? So the axe is powerful. But if we take more time to prepare, the sharpening process seems so tedious. It's like when I'm preparing for an interview, all of the research I have to do, why do I have to look at the employer? Oh, I read what the job is, the title, and I like it, so let me just apply. So I just want you to get into the habit of the preparation, of preparing, and that it'll be so much easier when you're actually in front of someone, whether it's via screen, whether it's in person. Preparing is the way to go. And that's what I want you to look at this whole conversation today. It's about the preparation piece. So I want you to look at it from that standpoint. And so let's start with, tell me about yourself. So tell me about yourself is the most frequently asked interview question. So out of all of the things that they can ask you, it is one of the most frequently asked questions. It usually is the very first question that we'll hear, and it sets the tone for the rest of the interview. So I'm wanting to talk to you about this today because it sets the tone for going forward and what you say next. So you'll get that question, but it really does, it's the foundation of your interview process. So I want to hear from you. And I want you to be honest. If you've been on an interview before, whether now you're interviewing and you're doing it on Zoom or on this platform, the GoToMeeting, or in person, I want you to fill in this blank. And like I said, if you're comfortable and you want to pop in the chat, if you want to unmute yourself, so answer this for yourself. I'll be honest. When I hear this question, I feel. What do you feel when you hear this question?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
How do you keep yourself from sounding like too cliche by answering that question? Like, oh, I like X, Y, and Z. I'm an outgoing person. Like, how do you set yourself different from the thousands others that have answered that same question?
Oh my goodness, Madison, you're the best, because your question is what we're going to get ready to answer. So you have set the tone for this rest of this conversation, because that's what we're going to talk about today. We want to first, and I always start off with, we want to identify that this is a popular question. So we want to be prepared. We want to sharpen our axe. So we're talking about this today because we want to be in preparation so that when we get to this question, we know what to do. And you're 100% right. You don't want to sound robotic. You don't want to sound cliche. And that's why in the introduction, it says this is about your story. And I remember how I used to answer this question, the evolution of answering it now. But I want to know, like, when you hear this question, has anyone ever been asked this question during an interview process? Yes. Okay. Yeah. And so, like, what does it bring up for you? Like, what do you feel when you hear this?
I forget who I am as a person, because I'm like, what do they want to hear from me that doesn't sound like someone they don't want here? Like, is me telling them I like video games a turn off, or like something that they don't want to be hearing? Oh, sounds like a slacker to me. Or me telling them I like to read horror plots or something.
Yeah. But, yeah. And I see a head nod. Mm-hmm.
Me, I actually get nervous because I don't want to sound too arrogant. Sounding very arrogant about yourself is kind of a know-it-all. You know everything, so why should we hire you? So I feel very nervous about that part. I don't want to sound arrogant at all. So how can you do that without, trying to get a job?
These are all such wonderful questions. And so even we don't want to sound arrogant. I hear that it brings some anxiety. We don't know how to answer. And so what we're going to talk about now is just the idea of how we answer it. And then, like, you can't sound too arrogant about who you are. It's about, in the counseling world, we talk about the term reframing something. So we want to reframe what you said about the arrogance. It is just knowing who you are. Knowing who you are, knowing what your abilities are, what your talents are, and being confident in that and reframing that. So we don't look at, I'm speaking arrogantly about myself, I'm speaking confidently. So I'm hearing that this question does bring up those emotions for us about, like, what does this look like? How do we answer this question? So let's get into it. Let's make sense of it and figure out what we need to do. I think it's important. And thank you so much for sharing, everyone who's sharing. Okay, so the way that we're going to tackle this today, we're going to do our 5 W's and our 1 H. And this is a technique that was utilized when I wrote English papers and in an English class. So let's break down what we're going to do. We're going to talk about this question in terms of who, what, when, where, why, and how. When we use this method, it basically is an information gathering process. So we want to gather information about this question. We want to make sense of how do we answer it? How do we not sound arrogant? How do we approach it in a way where it's efficacious, where it serves you and you're being organic? So what Madison said earlier is that you want to sound like yourself. You want to be yourself. And then what Latifah is saying is that I don't want to be too arrogant about it. So what's our balance? And so this formula is going to get the complete story on our topic, event, or experience. We want to get the complete story on what this looks like for us. And so I want you all to understand before we keep going is the idea that sometimes when you're applying for a job, who's going to sit in front of you? They're not always going to be the person reading your resume. And so that's the challenge. So you might say, why are they asking me this question? Just like if you ever applied for a job online and you answer questions, and then at the end, they ask you to upload your resume. And you're like, the resume has the information, or I already told you my work experience, so why do you need both? So it is very important to understand, like, there may be a person in the HR department who's reviewing and who's different from the person who's interviewing. So this is one of the reasons it's very important to, like, know how you want to represent yourself as this first question. Additionally, I'm not sure if all of you are familiar with ATS. Is everyone here familiar with what an ATS is? And if you're not, I'm going to share, so no worries. So the ATS is the automatic tracking system. It's a software use. So what will happen is if you're uploading your application or your resume online, it basically is a software that's going to scan your resume and do the work ahead of time and extract. Let's say, for example, the employer puts in keywords or phrases. If your resume matches up with that, then your resume may be chosen to be reviewed further. So it's software because, of course, now we're thinking about let's do more with less. So if you're an employer and you're getting 1,000 resumes, it may be easier for this system first and foremost to scan to choose resumes. So for one, this question is important because if you get to the place where your resume is chosen, secondly, if your resume is in front of a person after that process, then it's like the HR person may have given it to the interviewer. So how you represent yourself first and foremost is going to be very important in this process of moving forward with this with an interview. So let's start off. I said we were going to go who, what, when, where, why, and how. So the first thing I want to go over with you is the who. So this is very important. And this is why when we talk about coming across in a certain way and representing yourself and being organic, I want you to remember this process now is called sharpening the axe. We're doing this right now because we're in preparation. So when that question comes around again, you got it. And this is a journey of discovery. So who are you? How do you see yourself? So who are you can mean or connects to what are your core values? Like I want you to be able to reflect on who you are personally and professionally, but only answering professionally. I'm going to repeat that part again for you. We're talking about who. If I'm applying to anything, I need to know who I am. I need to understand who I am personally, and I need to also understand who I am professionally, but I'm wanting to present the answers in the most professional way possible. So thinking about who am I? What are my values, right? Because we want to think about work in terms of work in your career is an aspect of who you are. It's an extension of you. It's not all of you, it's an extension. And traditionally, your core values and who you are lines up with your work. And the more you explore who you are, it becomes easier to answer who you are professionally because they're not separate. They're not separate, friends. They're not at all. You're going to answer in a professional manner, but understanding this is my value system. I believe personally, my core value, right? What I think is important, I think hard work is important. That's a value of mine. That's a core value. But how I answer that professionally may connect to the positions I've had prior, the work I've done prior. How does my core value, how did it show up in my work? So we're answering, we're diving into who we are as people. So you want to answer, tell me about yourself. A part of that is knowing who you are. I'm going to reflect on me. I'm going to reflect on who I am. I'm going to name myself. I'm going to name who I am. I'm going to know who I am. And I'm going to know what's important to me. So in the process, once again, of sharpening your axe in preparation. So I'm not wanting you to immediately leave this presentation and go just like look for jobs and like go here. No, I want you to do the sharpening of the axe part, reflecting on who you are. What are your values? How do you see yourself? If you really look at that process, everything that you've chosen, whether it be education, I heard someone earlier say something about nursing. Think about if you're wanting to be a nurse, what are your core values to make you go into nursing? What are your values? So that's your value system is personal, but how it reflects in your work is professional. So when you're answering this question, we're not only knowing who we are personally, we want to know who we are professionally. We want to provide any relevant education and relevant experience and skill. I'm going to repeat, the operative word is relevant. So earlier, Madison referred to, like, am I sharing my hobbies? Am I telling them I have a pet? What am I saying? So remember, if I say let's say, for example, I have 2 dogs. I don't really have 2 dogs, but I have 3 kids. It's similar, right? Just, not that different. Some days it's the same. And so if I am telling an employer in my interview, I have 2 dogs, how does that connect to who I am and my values? How did I have 2 dogs connect to who I am in conjunction to who I am professionally? Does it? It doesn't. So remember, we're marrying. I'm going to know who I am, what my values are, how I name myself and see myself. But I'm going to do so in a professional way and in a relevant way. So what's my relevant education? How can I describe my educational experiences in a way that relates to what I'm applying for? All that word relevant. So understanding, if I'm really assessing who I am as a person, I'm looking at all parts of me. That's why I'm repeating again, I'm very repetitive. That's what teachers do. Repeating the idea of sharpening my axe. If I'm sharpening my axe and then chopping my wood, I have better results. So when I'm reflecting on who am I? Who am I? How do I see myself professionally? What is my relevant education? What are my relevant experiences? What are my relevant skills? And so I'm wanting you to look at it from that standpoint. So who am I? Doing some reflection on that. So the next part of this, and remember, if you have questions or you have any perspective, you want to jump in, please do so. Love hearing from you. So now I'm going to go to the idea of what, because we said, who are we? Next, we're looking at the what. So the way that you go about answering this question next is, what are you doing now as it relates to the position that you are applying for? What are you doing? So this is, remember, we're breaking it down. Who are you? What are your values? I'm going to tell you now, like I said a few minutes ago, your values show up. What you value shows up in your work. It's not separate, but you're representing it professionally. So what are you doing now as it relates to the position that you're applying for? So then when you're answering in relation to what are you doing now? How does that show up? So like, do you have a current position? Is there something you're training that that's once again, that word in the last slide, the relevant work. And so I'm wanting you truly to reflect on that part, especially. I have worked with people where they're like, I'm applying for this job. And all I did was, I was just the desk clerk. So think about this. If you're like, well, what am I going to say? I was just the person at the desk and I answered the phone. And so I always challenge everyone here to look at what you're doing in relation to who you are, as we said before. What did you add? What did you do? Did you provide, when you answered those phones, what was your level of customer service? How did you help people? And that will tie into your values, because what I did was, I'm applying for this job and I'm thinking I just answer phones at the desk. But if you're looking at who I am and my values, I believe in treating people well. It's a value of mine. And so now I'm not just looking at, I'm a desk clerk. I'm looking at, I'm somebody who my value and who I am believes in providing optimal service, being kind when people call and they want answers. So now I'm not going to say, well, I don't know what to say. Like, I don't know how to tell me about yourself. I don't want to tell them about, answering phones. How does it apply to this? Stop looking at the title of just what you're doing and look at what you're doing, what your values are, and connect those things. Any job that we have, how you do it makes a difference. What you add to it makes a difference. All of you did, because I did it with you. Tiffany sent to me, she said you guys all did the strengths test. Did everyone do those where you answered the questions? I think it was like, no? Did anyone get a chance to do that with the mentors, I believe?
Type in the chat if you did just type yes in the chat if you did the strengths assessment. So that way we know who did it.
Okay.
Lisa, do you have the link for it? We can put it in the chat so those who didn't do it can have access to it later.
I think it was great. If you didn't get the chance to do it, this is what I'm going to suggest for you. These questions. So when we talk about who and then what we're doing as it relates to the position, what I find is, like I said, gave the example with being just say I work at the desk and I answer phones, and people not being able to move past just what the position is titled. So if you have the opportunity, you do those questions, and I'm going to explain to you why. If you're trying to be on this journey of discovering who you are, what careers work for you, what your relevant skills are, I did these questions. And so I did the questions that Tiffany sent to me, and it came up with, so it'll based upon how you answer the questions, it gave me examples, or it gave me what my strengths were. It told me, and it fell right in line with what I do for my life. And so it told me, now did it say at the top, you are a therapist and you like presenting and providing workshops and you're an educator? It didn't, but it said to me, you're a thinker, an empathizer, a storyteller, a brainstormer, and a believer. So I'm looking at all of these strengths I have, and I'm going to apply. I need to know who I am. This helped me to really get a picture of, okay, so if I'm applying to a job and I'm a therapist, and I might say, well, how does a therapist get this type of job? I'm going to think about where I'm strong. I'm going to say I'm a problem solver. So when it told me I was a brainstormer, when I'm telling somebody about who I am, I'm going to be talking about being a therapist and how I brainstorm, how in my current role, the examples of problem solving with clients. And so if I just say therapist looks different for everyone. In fact, when I tell people I'm a therapist, they go, what kind? Because it could be a massage, it could be any type of therapist, right? And so ultimately wanting you to do this, because if we are discovering who we are, we're going to look at what we're doing more than just the title. That's why you could go to a doctor and go to Dr. A and get a totally different experience than if you go to Dr. B. So I'm wanting you to say, who am I? What are my strengths? I am absolutely a brainstormer. I'm an empathizer. So if I am saying, who am I? What's relevant to if I'm applying to a therapist position at an agency or private practice, I'm going to play on those strengths. I'm going to connect what I've done in my prior positions that connect to these skills that I have. And so remember, I'm going to think about who am I personally, but in conjunction with who I am professionally, they go together. What am I doing right now that relates to what I'm applying for? Now, I want to kind of underline and highlight the part that says, as it relates to the position you are applying for. Always keep in mind, and this is a sharpening the axe, as it relates to the position I'm applying for. Do your homework, because there has to be harmony between what am I doing, who am I, with what they're looking for. If someone's looking to hire, someone to, let's say for a summer job, I want to walk pets and take care of pets. And they're looking for specific skills in that and the ability to be able to take care of the pets. I need to, when I'm presenting who I am and what am I doing right now, I need to make that go in conjunction with or connect that with what they're looking for. There has to be a happy marriage. So I'm exploring who I am, but I'm also doing my homework on what the employer is searching for. What do they need? What skills and experience do I have in relation to what they're looking for? It has to go together. Don't just see something that you want to apply for, see the title and go, let me go apply. Because if you do that, you miss the mark on what are they looking for? And let me merge that and marry that with my skills and experience. So when I'm answering, tell me about myself, I'm being organic, I'm being authentic. But if I really am developing who I am in my personhood, what my values are, understanding how my values go with work, even in this interim process of trying to figure out what's next, let's say if you're looking for a job, start thinking about what can I do right now when I want to start applying for this XYZ position? Are there training? Are there trainings I can do? Is there any type of internship? Can I do an externship? What can I do in relation? Maybe I don't have, because remember, we're going to like look at the idea of transferable skills. And so who and then what? What am I doing? So this is how we're building. So who am I? What am I doing right now as it relates to that position? Knowing what my employer is looking for. Because if they're looking for A, but you're telling them a story about Z, you're not a fit. You're not going to be a fit. So as you sharpen your axe, you do your homework on you, know you. But then in addition to that, know what they're looking for and what they're in search of, or we missed the mark. Additionally, when we're doing our what, we want to make sure that we know when we're answering, we want to answer in a way that makes sense. So we want to do some sort of chronological order. So just being mindful that you're answering in a way that makes sense for the employer. So we're not going to be like, I remember, and I'm going to give you an example of when I used to answer, and I would say, oh, I remember telling the story about, and it would be a long story, because I will go back and I'll be like, well, when I was growing up in Brooklyn, New York, and it was just my whole story. And I told that Brooklyn, New York story as animated as possible. And and it was vivid. And I thought I was doing something, and I wasn't, because they smiled and it was a good story, but it wasn't what we talked about. It wasn't really who I was. It didn't connect what I valued, what my values are with work. I didn't connect what I was doing right now as it related to what they were looking for. So don't forget your who, don't forget your what. And so the when. So when we say when, we have to look at when did I have these experiences? So I don't want to go back to Brooklyn, New York, unless there was something pivotal that I'm going to briefly touch upon that connects me to how I got to where I'm sitting in front of them. Was there a pivotal moment as you discover who you are and why do I want to be a nurse? Why do I want to be a dentist? Because you're exploring, because you're doing your who first. You're sharpening your axe. When I think about what I'm choosing for my career for work, was there that pivotal experience? Did I want to be a teacher because when I was in 8th grade, I had this like experience with my English teacher who inspired me. And as a result of her inspiration, I did A, B, C, D, and now I'm here now. Unless there's a connection, me telling my story about being grown up in Brooklyn and then I went, it didn't have anything to do ever with anything I was applying for. So think about your when. Is there a time that connects to who you're sitting in front of as an employer or through the screen, because we're Zooming and everything. And so making sure we're sharing when I had these experiences, the when. Quantify your past relevant experiences. That goes along with the when. So was it this pivotal experience in 8th grade? Did I have this position about 3 years ago or before the pandemic? I'm going to just share that. So I'm going to describe if it's relevant, once again, that word relevant, if it's something that's going on in the present, the past, the future, right? So just making sure we share that story. So we got thus far, we got our who, we got our what, and then we are at our when. And I'm just checking, making sure anyone has anything that they're sharing in the chat. Okay, awesome. Okay, so I always do a little chat check. Okay, so I see Brandon is similar to what I have. Brandon had, and I'm sharing because Brandon did it, empathizer, problem solver, self-believer, brainstormer, deliverer were Brandon's results. So I love that. So what you can do, Brandon, and this is for everyone else, once again, if you look at Brandon's results, what you're going to look at is how do those values, because it goes by when you answer those strengths tests, you have to be as honest as possible. And I was honest. And when I look at how I answered it, it was me to the core. So it helped me to understand who I was, how I represent myself, and how I can utilize these strengths. And when I'm in an interview process, how I can make those connections. Just make sure you do the work. Do the work on who you are. Okay. Let's see what's next. So So I already talked about keeping it in an order. Don't be mindful of, we're not just like, when I was 7 and I was 17, then not, just keep a chronological order, right? And so try, you know, you could try your best to answer, and you can go, if you want to do the method of present, past, and future responses, you can, because in your future response, let's say if we're like, right now, this is what I'm doing. Before COVID, this is what I was working on, right? You know, before the pandemic hit. And then what I would like to do. And remember, it's all relevant. So you're able to, for example, answer in your present, what I'm doing right now, what you did before, what I would like to do, what I'm interested in doing. And it has to be in relation, in conjunction to what you're applying for. Don't forget that part. So the where, what's our where look like? I want you, of course, in this process, you're looking at, where are you in your career journey? Where do you want to go? So what I'm asking everyone to do is to take time and to explore where you are. Where would you like to go? I don't want everyone to always look at, they're at the will and mercy of what if the employer says yes or no to you. I want you to look at where you are. Where do you want to be? Where do you see yourself? Where are you in the journey? And where would you like to be in this journey? And so empowering yourself, being empowered by the process of your career search. Because when you go into that, so tell me about yourself, and you know who you are and what your core values are, right? Because that's also meaning you know what you will and will not do. Giving you an example. Right now, where I am in my career journey, the where. I remember applying to jobs and applying for positions, and I didn't have children. And so now, in terms of who I am and where I am, I have children. So now how I'm looking towards applying, and my values are my family. I would not, in my journey right now, I don't want a position that might have me travel the world or have really, really late hours, because right now what my core values are my family and the time I allot for them. So in reflection, that's why it's so important to know who you are and also know what they're looking for. Because if you know what your employer is looking for, if you do research on that company, then you can empower yourself by deciding, do I want to apply for that? Does that suit me? Am I going into an interview process and just answering because I think this is what they want to hear, but it doesn't really represent who I am? So just being very, very mindful of that process of doing that, of just making sure you are reflecting that as you sharpen your axe, where are you in this journey and where would you like to be? This process helps us to go, so I'm telling you about myself because I know myself. So just remember that. I'm telling you about myself because I know who I am. I know where I want to be. And so that's how I'm able to even answer the future part. Because I said you can answer in present, past, future responses. And so I need to know where I want to go with this. So I want you to look at it from that standpoint. So the where. Anybody have questions or, you know, like I said, anything they want to share or, okay, let's see. I got Madison here.
I just had finished typing the moment you asked.
Okay.
Like, are you gonna read it or you want me to wait?
Oh no, whatever you want to just share. I mean, you wrote those things, but if you want to just share out loud, I'd love to hear you.
Yeah, because I just wanted to let you keep talking, and then when you got to it, you got to it. But what if you know this job, what they're looking for, and you feel that you can do what is required, but you feel as though you're qualified for this job, but you know, you don't really take into account who you are as a person. You sort of separate personal from professional to the point where everyone you work with know a completely different person than who you are outside of work. Why does answering who I am have to be, you know, who I am? Why can't it be who I choose to be in this specific professional setting?
Love that question. And so, of course, we are layered. We're onions. If you ever watch Shrek, the movie, they talk about, you know, that we're complex and we're layered. What I'm wanting you to do is, the more that you're aware of who you are, and there's different aspects of you. So of course, we're able to, even the idea of compartmentalizing, right? So we put certain things in our life in certain categories all of the time, right? Different relationships. So this friend does this for us, but this friend is funny, and so we spend time with them. This friend is very studious, and so we're able to do that because we're diverse and we're layered, and there's different parts of us. And that's why I said there's this connection between personal and professional. It's still important to explore your values and who you are, because compromising who your values and not understanding who you are won't be sustainable over time. That's sometimes when we lead to, in a position, burnout. Now, if I went into work, I'm gonna give you an example. I'll go back to me saying, I want a certain job. They have everything that I want, but I'm not willing at this stage. That's why knowing who you are, this was not me 15 years ago. But now where I stand is understanding, how do I want to represent myself? What type of hours do I want? Those things are important. Even when you're in the interview process, and if we speed past, tell me about yourself, understand what the work culture is. The culture of the place is very important. It is why if you haven't experienced it, or you don't have a friend, or you will one day, where people leave their jobs. And I know the pandemic has changed so much. So, of course, we may be talking about pre-pandemic. People leave their jobs because sometimes the values don't align. It's because the culture of that company doesn't align with how they see themselves, how they think of who they are, of what they want to do. If you, for example, were in a company that was scamming people, let's just give that as an example, or did underhanded things, and if your value was, I am a problem solver, and I am a thinker and an empathizer, and I want to go into a position knowing that I'm those things. I'm just reading my results and knowing that, although I don't need someone to know my home self, I'm still going to be professional, but I need to know the culture of this place. I need to know what my values are, things that I will and will not do, an atmosphere that I would feel most comfortable in working. And if you're aware of that, when you go into your interview process, you will be organic, you'll be authentic to who you are as a person. And so you're always going to be your professional self. That's why I said, don't just look at it personal by itself. It's, I'm knowing who I am. You have to know who you are personally. You have to be aware of who you are professionally. They always go together, because when we don't have it aligned with, these are my values, these are things that are important to me. I am an empathizer. I don't know what position I could ever go into where I don't empathize with people. So I'm going to utilize that strength and that skill. Doesn't mean that when I'm working with my clients, it's interesting, I'm like inviting them over my house to cook dinner for them. That would not be professional at all. I just imagine, like I said, oh, I know you lost your job during the pandemic. You want to come over and I'll cook for you? Like, do you see what I'm saying? I won't do anything of that nature, because that's not professional. But in my work, I know that who I am, I'm an empathizer. So that's going to show up in your work. That's how you market your skills. You discover.
Can I say something? Hello? Okay, I wanted to say, I think what you're trying to say is, like, just know what you're qualified for. Like, for example, like, if I'm qualified in helping my employees reach their goals set professionally, then that's something I'm going to advocate when I'm in a meeting with the next future employer.
Yes. So let's say, for example, I know, like, that example that you just gave, how do we see? You have to see yourself that way. You have to know what you're able, because if we look at a title of a position, it's a title. The things you do there with it makes a difference. I used to be a school counselor. The reputation of school counselors, guidance counselors, I've heard so many things. They're in their office, they're reading a paper, they're not like helping, like they're just in it. And I did programs. I created a career initiative for the students. I took them on field trips to college. I'm not gonna like just go, this is my title. I'm going to look at what I did. What were my values, those kids, empathizing with them, meeting with parents and families, meeting one-on-one and talking with them. And being a thinker, my strength said I'm a thinker, and it says I'm a brainstormer. So when I would meet with students, those things come into play because my brainstorming abilities help me to go, what do I want to do to help the students now that I know this is their issue? When I'm in an interview process, if I'm in a position where the employer is looking for that, I'm reading the description because I'm sharpening my axe, I know what they're looking for, I might use that example. I'm innovative, I'm a thinker, I'm a brainstormer. I'm a therapist, I was a school counselor, but I'm not leading with my title, I'm leading with what I did and know who I am. Not every guidance counselor, school counselor is a thinker. Not everyone is a brainstormer who creates programs. I had my counterpart, she was masterful at college applications. That was her thing. My thing on my end, and we had the same title, was I'm an empathizer, I'm a thinker, I'm a brainstormer. What do these students need? Let me call up this parent and have this meeting. Let me figure out, what do I need to do? What programs? I'm hearing the needs of my students. What programs can I put in play? What programs can I do? So I want you to think of it. So when we think of personal, we don't think about hanging at the mall, who's my best friend. We're thinking about who I am. I'm like, I know I'm an empathizer. That's me outside of a job. But I'm bringing that, depending on the job, I'm going to make the correlation and connection to those two things. So what you said, who just gave that response? That was a perfect example. I'm sorry, I didn't see the name. Who's my friend? Macy, perfect. Yeah, right. So like what you said is right. So we're extracting that. We're looking at that. So I want you, Madison, not to look at it in the standpoint of like those things of like, oh, I have a dog or I have a cat. Like more so of like, and being authentic to yourself, but just more so of knowing what you're applying for, knowing who you are. And so of course you can go in. You're not going to go in and go, you know, and represent yourself in a way that you're not comfortable with, but just making sure that you're making that connection. Any other questions or comments or anyone want to add to that or have a question about that? Okay. All right, let's keep the party going. So now we're going to look at our why. So what is our why? And I think it goes back to, we've just been talking about it already, what our why looks like. If I can get the screen to go. So we're looking at our why from what standpoint? So when we're saying our why, we're wanting to know, why are you the best candidate?
I have a question.
Yes, go for it. Love your question.
I was trying to raise my hand, but my thing was wet, so I couldn't. Okay.
Okay.
Why is because I need a job not a good answer if that's pretty much, if that is like one of the main reasons why I'm applying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, why is that such a frowned upon answer? It's not like, I get it, doctors help save lives, but a lot of people want the paycheck. And so why can't you say, hey, I want to be financially stable?
Mm-hmm.
Great,
mm-hmm.
helping people, but the money's where it's at. Why is that such a bad answer if it's true and honest?
Mm-hmm. Okay, great question. Because let's think about now, you know, let's make the connection of, we're in a pandemic, right? So let's think about when we watch the news, the unemployment numbers. If I'm interviewing and 3,000 people need a job, who do I choose? I want you, that's why we go back to the who are you. You have skill. I'm wanting you all to explore what your strengths are. Absolutely. I think for baseline, we work because we might be philanthropists and love people. And I said all my skills to you. I said empathizing and thinking and brainstorming and all of that good stuff. But we want to be able to pay our bills, and we want to also be able to eat and to live, right? Absolutely. But if I have an interview, if I have resumes, if I have applications, and it says, why are you applying? And everyone says, or you make it to interview, and I have 50, 1,000 may be extreme. I have 50 people I need to see this week. And everyone says to me, I need a job. They're honest. We need a job. Who do I choose? So I want you to see yourself, Madison, because I don't know you, but as you know, you're inquisitive, you're funny. I know you. I know that based upon your participation tonight, what I heard just coming in and listening, you know, to the and watching the interactions, I know that there are skills, there's talents, there's transferable skills that you don't have to go in and say, I need a job. That's given. That's baseline. Like, we need air, but I need good air. You know, we all need air, but we need clean air. So you don't want to just kind of like sell yourself short, because obviously if you're applying some way, shape, or form, you're in need of that position because you need to pay your bills. So we want to look past. That's why step one is who? Who are you? You have so much more. I wasn't just a school counselor. I was a school counselor I did those programs. I created things. I stayed late and met with parents. Everyone doesn't do that. So I'm challenging you, Madison, everyone here, to look at yourselves in terms of, I know you need a job. That's baseline. That's basis. We need jobs. That'll work.
I have an example. Can I give her one? Why?
Yes, please share. Yes, this is interactive. Go for it.
A good example would be, let's just say we have, you go to the doctor, right? Or you go to the doctor and you have something going on with you, but you want the best person to know what they're, the person that knows and is passionate about what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Would you as a boss, let's just say this, would you as a boss, would you hire someone that's passionate about their job, or someone that you know will do a good job because they need a job? Or let's rephrase that. My example would be, if you go to the doctor, your family comes, somebody's sick or whatever, somebody in your family that's really sick.
Mm-hmm.
Would you want that person that needs a job tending to your sick family, or would you want someone that's very passionate about their job and skillful to have that job?
I think that there's like, skillful. Okay, well, who says the person that wants money isn't skillful? Because I could be so passionate about cooking, nearly burn my house down every day. So, I mean, even like you said, like, what if someone really wants the money and they're really good, and then you have somebody who is really passionate and who's really good? Why can't, like, I mean, on paper and hearing it sounds like someone it's ideal that someone who's passionate would be better at giving care. But
you can hate your job. You can hate your job, right? You can hate it and just get paid. You wouldn't give that person the good care that they need because you just want to get paid.
Yeah, and also let me jump in there. Let's see if that's a perfect example. Also, you said, Madison, like, I could, I could be skillful and like the money could be the first thing. If I'm an employer, I don't know you. I don't know that. So if you would be remiss to not share and misrepresent who you are, because I can't look at someone and go, oh, well, I know they want money, but they're skilled too. I don't know that. I don't know. Your resume, it literally gets you, I know we're not always meeting in person, in the door. Your resume is just the foot, like just the step one. And so ultimately, that's why we make sure our resume is good, because we want to at least get there. And so when we're like, tell me about yourself, you're going to misrepresent who you are, and you shorten the ability of that person to see you and what you have to offer, because they don't know you. Because remember in the beginning, I said, if because this happens a lot, I'm called down to like interview this person, or I'm told to interview, and I didn't really get a chance to review the resume so much. So while I'm in front of them, I have the paper and I'm skimming. But what they're sharing with me about what they do, I know what the position is because I'm a part of the employment team. But your responsibility is to present yourself and represent yourself in a way that is in conjunction with who you are, right? Because you can't go there and fake it. You know, if you have on your resume, you speak fluent Spanish, and then they go there and then like that gets tested. You don't want to look like I lied and made up a story. So you want to present yourself or represent yourself in the best light and the most honest light. But if you come out and just say, hey, I like really need this job, it's so important that I get this job, and that's how you're representing yourself, you are selling yourself short of all of those skills and talents. And I, the employer, I'm going to go with what Latifa said, which if somebody is passionate, skillful, gave me an example of the fact that I'm looking for someone who's going to take this position and be innovative and create new initiatives, and they give me an example of how they created a new initiative or some ideas that they had for this position, I'm going with them. Even though you might be the most skilled person, you didn't tell me about yourself. You didn't tell me about yourself. And I think that is what the issue is. And I have Tiffany you raising your hand?
Yeah, just to on a whole nother note, when you think of it in terms of monetary value. So yes, we all are applying for jobs because we need the job, we're interested, we want to make the salary that's associated with that job. That's understood right from the door, that all of the candidates, that's baseline. But if you will have certain candidates that will lead hard with the benefits package, what's the salary, and all of these other things. And what happens as a hiring manager or someone in human resources, they're looking at who is going to be someone that will be sustainable at this company, that we can hire and grow with us. And that just with the pandemic, that's a prime example, there were no raises given over the last year and a half in most cases. But even when the companies are in, some fiscal trouble, you still want that talent to remain and be dedicated. And that level of dedication is usually commitment, what hiring managers are looking for. And I know as a young, career person, you're gonna have more than one job. I mean, this is probably like my 5th job or 6th job in my career. So that's a nature of growth. But at the same time, when you're trying to apply for a job and you want to compete with the rest of the field, salary and compensation and that whole package, that's all considered baseline. So you want to do all of the things that Ms. Johnson is sharing today to set yourself apart from the rest. So that way, when they're considering that position, you're in a best position to negotiate, if there's room to negotiate that salary in the end, because they've selected you because you have highlighted all of the key things that they're looking for. And so by virtue of, it being baseline and you setting yourself apart with those skills, you will be in the best position to have that leverage when the conversation is relevant. And I'll go back to her, word use of relevance throughout this entire presentation. At that point, that conversation and compensation is more relevant to have at that point, because you've secured your position as one of the head or leading candidates for the job.
Yeah.
I'm going to give a time check because this building is shutting down in about 10 minutes. The lights are starting to go out.
We're going to get the party started. So Madison, did that answer that for you? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like a slacker. I just was,
you're not a slacker.
Yeah.
No.
This is what we're here to do. That's why I don't do any presentations where I'm just like click slide, keep going. This is how we learn and we grow. We give input. You have your peers sharing. We're sharing. We're giving input, and you're doing what's right. Keep doing it. Yep. Awesome. I never thought of you as a slacker. I said someone who one of the words I say, she's inquisitive. She wants to make sense of it and grow and learn, and that's what we're here to do. We're not here to click slide and keep going. We're here to learn. So good job. Okay. So our why, we talked about why, and we're gonna wrap this thing up. I had an example for you. I hope to see everyone again so we can extend this conversation, because there's so much to like kind of dissect with this, and I'm glad we're doing this. And so basically, the why is why should they hire you? It goes back to that relevant piece. So I have tons of experiences. Like Tiffany said, what number job am I on at the stage I am in life, or what number position? But I'm going to use what's relevant, and what's relevant is still true to me. It's who I am, but I'm going to look at who I am and who am I? What are my professional experiences, education in relation to this job I'm applying for? Why do they want to hire me? How do I set myself apart? Because everyone, like we said, at the base level, we're coming to get paid. Unless you're applying for a volunteer experience where you know you don't get paid, that's a very different thing. But we know we're applying, we're wanting to get a paycheck. And so ultimately, I'm thinking about when I'm crafting my response or thinking about this, like I gotta make sure that I am marketing myself, to who I am, and why should they want to hire me? They should want to hire me because this company, as I read the description, I see they're looking for someone who is going to create. And I'm going to talk about my positions I just had where I was able to do that. Okay. Anybody? I heard something. I'm sorry. Okay. So we're good on that, right? So why? Why should they hire me? Okay.
Sorry, I thought my mic was off. I'm turning it off.
Oh, no worries. No worries. Okay. So last part is our how. So let's look at our how. So how am I doing all of these things, right? You know what I'm doing? I'm planning, preparing, practicing, and performing my P's. So how are we pulling this together? We're planning out my response by writing out a script. Now here, listen to the script part. I don't want anyone to look at a script like I am reading for the soap operas that come on ABC during the day. We're not doing that. We're not reading for General Hospital because that's the only soap opera left over. Sorry, I watched that today before I saw you guys, so I had to put that in there. We're not going to do it that way. We're planning. We're doing the planning process. So we're going to figure out, like, if I said to you the who am I? What are my professional skills? My relevant experience? So then I can map out this response, but I don't have to memorize it. I don't have to go, hello, my name is Quanesha Johnson, and I am here to apply. We don't want to do that. We want to be organic, authentic, and the more we're exploring who we are, the more that we're doing things. Maybe we don't have the position now. What training am I going to do? What videos am I going to watch so I can craft skills and knowledge? What class am I going to take next semester that's in line with what I want to do? And am I going to take these opportunities to learn and grow so that now when I'm putting together this script, it's not from memory, it's so that I'm sharpening my axe. So I'm getting a picture of my skills, who I am. I'm going to take the chance, the opportunity, and click on that link that Tiffany put in, and I'm going to just see what it says. Because with all of those empathizer, thinker, they give you a description of it. And it's amazing to read it and go, yeah, that's who I am. And then when I had this job, or when I took this class and I did this project, that's how that showed up. So planning things out. And then next, we're going to go prepare for the emotional part. And I want to tell you this because I'm a therapist and I got to tell you this. When I say prepare for the emotional part of the interview, you're going to always be nervous. You're going to have some anxiety. Your emotions, your anxiety about what you don't know is normal. So just prepare for that part and don't allow it to overtake you and cause you to underperform, underrepresent yourself because you're nervous, because you have anxiety. Some anxiety for the unknown is normal.
I'm a crier.
I'm sorry?
I'm a crier.
You cry, yeah.
Like my first day at WCC, I walked in, I didn't know where to go. I was crying. People really thought there was something wrong with me. I don't know, when I'm nervous, the first thing I do is break out in tears. And it's really hard because it looks like I'm incompetent. It looks like I can't function on my own. And I'm over here like, I can do it. Just give me like 10 minutes.
I love, Madison, that you said that. Perfect example. You said, this is how, like, you're going to do so good. You know yourself. That's why the first thing was who. You said, I'm a crier. Not suddenly I went somewhere yesterday and I cried and I didn't know why I cried. You're able to tell us today why I cried, how I'm feeling. Get ahead of those things. If you know I'm going into something new and I'm preparing for the emotional part, I cry. I feel emotional. So let me, the day before, the night before, the morning of, do some deep breathing exercises. Let me ground myself. Let me find in my home a grounding object that when I touch it, or when I'm going to bring a rock with me and I'm going to hold on to it. I'm going to bring a stress ball and I'm going to ground myself in the moment. I'm going to prepare for what I know that I am. I know I shake, so this is what I need to do. So you knowing who you are, you could be in preparation phase for that. Do I need to, before I approach, just go in the restroom of the location and just sit for 1 second, take some deep breaths, say some affirmations. I'm going to do a great job. I'm here to grow. I'm here to get that paycheck that I want to get. Prepare for that. And not in a way where it's so methodical, but in a way where I know who I am. So I got to nurture myself and work with that. I don't want to think of it as a negative trait. I cry. So now I know I'm going to do that. So let me do some things for myself before I get myself prepared. So that when I go into that situation, I might cry. Maybe 2 tears come down. Or maybe I know how to walk in the bathroom and just take that deep breath. Prepare for that. Know yourself. That's why the first thing was who. Who are you? Explore that. So I'm saying practice your script, as I told you earlier. Don't memorize it. Just know who you are. You're exploring. You're planning. You're preparing. You're reading the job description, and you're like, okay, here's my highlighter. Oh yeah, okay. I got some transferable skills. Maybe I didn't do that position, but they're looking for someone who is just impeccable at service. And let me tell you, my last job, I did a bang up job at service. I'm great at people. I love people. So let me now, I can put that in who I am. That I love serving people. I love making people smile. I've loved it because in my last position. So when we're preparing that, we're not memorizing it. We're just like now visually we could see this is really who I am. This is what I do.
Okay, one quick question, last one. I promise I'll stop talking.
Okay.
Okay. Most jobs now are very teamwork, group thing oriented. People who don't like working in groups, like, yeah, I can crack a couple jokes, but I hate being in a group of people. Like, it's the most thing ever. How can you get better at being more patient in settings like that, or settings that you are really out of your comfort zone, you don't like it, you don't want to do it, but you realize that you have to do it?
Okay. One of my favorite lines I always say to people is just so true. If you truly want that job, but you struggle with that because this is something that maybe you've avoided, because if you're telling me that you don't like doing something or like that, you most likely avoided it. So you may like a job, but you avoid that interaction. And so because you have avoided it, you can't craft it. You can't practice it or perfect it because you avoid doing it. I want you to remember, confidence comes from doing. Confidence is not the other way around. I couldn't just tell you, well, just go in front of people and be confident, Madison. The more that you go and do, the more that you have the wherewithal to keep going. And so don't wait for it the other way around. Don't just say, I'm going to be confident, just be around people. If you're truly interested in like, hey, I do like people, I'm just nervous around them. Acknowledge that. That's okay. But the more that you put yourself in positions and situations where like, I know I'm a kind person. I know what you're saying now, but you have participated, you have spoken, you've smiled, you've laughed, you have the tools, but the avoidance gets in your way. So that's why the third bullet says preparing for the emotional part of interviewing. So we're preparing for the emotional parts of whatever we're into. We have to know ourselves and prepare for that. So confidence, the more that you do, the more that you practice, you just get better and you don't from avoiding it. Deal with the emotional parts. Dig into like, what is it about me and people? Was there an experience I had? And I'm just such a therapist because this is what we do in therapy. We explore to see why we got where we got. Why do we think this about ourselves? Was there an experience that crafted that? That's why I go sharpen your axe. The more you're exploring yourself, you'll see where barriers may have played into things and go, that's why I'm not comfortable with people. That's why I respond that way. How do I deal with that? So it really is the preparation piece of it all. And it's work. It's good work, but it's work.
She's like, let's go. I'm trying to go home.
I'm sorry?
No, just some closing remarks, Quanesha. This is wonderful. I wish we did have more time, but literally the building's closing in 3 minutes.
Okay, we got to get you out. Last one is perform. Each interview is a learning experience. Perform. So after we do all of these things, put everything together, keep swimming like in the movie Finding Dory. Keep going. Don't stop. Keep practicing. Don't give up. Explore who you are. Know yourself. Know your skills. Don't just apply to things. Do that. Marry what they're looking for with your relevant skills and transferable skills. There's so much more. I had examples here. Maybe for another time.
More Disney movies, I'm sure.
I'm sorry?
More Disney movies, I'm sure.
I have children. We watch Disney. We do. So thank all of you. I appreciate your responses, your participation, and I hope to see you again one day soon. So I know
Thank
we
you,
don't have time for
Quanesha.
questions, but
Thank you. That was very
Don't
informative.
go yet, everyone. Don't go, everyone. But let's give Ms. Johnson a round of applause for an amazing presentation. Thank you so much
my
for all
pleasure.
your time. And we can tell that you've planned and prepared for this tonight with us because it was very engaging. A lot of key points and key takeaways for I think our scholars, but as well as the professionals here too. I learned something new as well that I'll practice in my professional life. But as the presenter's choice, I need you to pick a number from 1 to 7, and that will be our lucky winner today.
I am in a sorority, and my line number is number 5. So 5 is the number.
All right. So number 5 is Miss Nanama Tandoa. So Nanama, you are the winner of our presenter's choice door prize. And I have also Madison, Brianna, and Latifa as our cameras on door prize winners for the entire time. And I have, let's see, Brandon and Patricia, you're the only 2 left. And I think the caller number 1 is, I believe caller number 1 just left, but I believe that was Celeste. So just for hanging in there until the end, everyone gets a prize. I feel like Oprah Winfrey tonight.
You get a prize. You get a prize.
You're supposed to make me feel special.
Well, you got 2 prizes because you were the first presenter. And actually, Patricia gets a prize for being the first one to volunteer. So ultimately, you do get 2, Ms. Madison, but everyone gets a prize. Okay, and it looks like Patricia's in the car, so she's on the move.
I'm driving.
Well, thank you for joining. I will be sending everyone out a quick survey, so that way we can just, share some notes and also some words of encouragement or just what you've learned, so that way Ms. Quanesha knows exactly how you feel about the presentation and just some takeaways for both she and I. So that way we can plan for future presentations for the EOF summer program and next year in the fall. With that, once again, I will send that email out, but you can each email me what you'd like your door prize to be. So I have a caddy, like a little desktop caddy, and it has the connections for your USB or phone charger. I have the adult coloring book and notepad. There's an EOF Warren magnet, and then there's a Warren This Together EOF Strong t-shirt. Just tell me what size you are and just email me when you get a chance. Okay, and Ms. Quanesha, email me your t-shirt size because I'll be sending you a Warren EOF little goodie bag just as appreciation for the time that you've taken to prepare and present to our scholars tonight. So we really appreciate it.
I love a goodie bag. Yay, thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's always my pleasure. I had a great time.
You're welcome. All right, everybody, I got 1 minute over. I'm getting ready to log off and head out. So good night and enjoy.
Good night, friends. Good night, friends. Thank you so much. Take care of yourselves.
Baked good. Come on now.
What did you make? You made something?
Yeah,
Oh, she's
bread.
It's a half cheesecake, half shortbread bottom.
Oh, I wish we could have a taste.
Even if I was there, I wouldn't be sharing. Come on now.
Bye. I'm gonna stop recording. Have a good night.
Bye.
Thanks for sharing your
Good night, Brianna.